who brought the wooden sword on an airplane? Right, on the far side of security, let's find out where the board is. So I'm in the UK at the press launch of the new Suzuki Swift. I'm sitting relatively comfortable. The first impressions is that the interior is quite big. This one's an automatic. Would you believe this? So Suzuki, which have always been traditionally a fairly conservative company, gave us quite a talk there a minute ago from the MD. He said that they're not going to be conservative anymore. That's that. They're going to take on the competition and kick ass. Well, I didn't say kick ass, but you know what I mean. They want to take on everybody at the moment with this B segment car. Now, B segment is small, super mini car. The problem is, it's the biggest segment overall. So there's a lot of cars sold in this segment. But the problem is that...
Turn right after 200 yards and follow the A538.
Gotcha. The problem is there's a lot of cars in that segment. A lot. You got, say it, Ibiza, you've got Citroen C3, you've got Minis, you've got all of these cars that are sitting in that segment right there, along with the Hyundais. Along with the Hyundais and the Kias and all these other cars are there as well. Let's test it out 60 times, we'll go. Oh, she handles well. Yes. Yes, we like this. I like when it launches in England. Number one, it's only a 40-minute flight for me. And number two, you all drive on the same side of the road as I do, which is good.
Next right.
So this is the automatic box that I'm driving, and it seems to be very responsive, apart from being stuck in M when I got here first, which I did.
Follow
of
the
course.
road for 1 mile.
Klutz Almighty here did that part. This has got the built-in sat-nav system from Suzuki, which is way better than their Panasonic system. There is not going to be a diesel version of this car. Irish prices begin a little over 14 grand for the entry-level one. You only get the good toys in the top-end spec one, which is closer to 18, I think. I'll put the number up on the screen there. Don't worry. It's a sunny, bright and sunny day here in Manchester, or kind of south of Manchester now. So Manchester's that way. What's that way? I'm not sure. I'm behind a Peugeot 308, and of course this Peugeot driver is driving like a granny. Even little Suzuki Swift can keep up here. Nice to be dealing in miles again. Of course, I grew up dealing in miles. Kilometres is a relatively new thing to Ireland. Anyway, the Swift, the interior is huge. The car is actually overall smaller. That's the key that they were trying to bring over as well, is that the car is actually 1 centimetre shorter, and the wheelbase is a little wider, but the car is 4 centimetres wider in general. Like, room in the cabin here is plentiful. You have no problem fitting in anything you want into this car. The boot space is bigger as well. It's 250 litres, and it seems to be a 250 useful litres as well, rather than just being a kind of pit at the bottom, which the old Suzuki was, which was an awful turn-off for people when they used to go and look at a Suzuki to go, yeah, it's a really nice car, but the boot is tiny. That's the complaint from the last model. This model, however, doesn't have that problem. The boot's a lot bigger. Now this one has active...
Right after 300 yards and follow Wilmslow Road.
Whoa, there's a horse box out there. That's going to completely confuse the Peugeot driver. Oh no, we might crash while we're going. Maniac. If any of us know the reference I'm making there right now, it is the Top Gear reference of James May and Jeremy Clarkson driving Peugeots, which I thought was terribly funny at the time.
Please turn next right.
But some of it's true. Woodford Lane. Prestbury Macclesfield is up this way, 5.5 miles. Maniac. Lunatic. Maniac. Ooh, Porsche. Maniac. Go! Maniacs. I just joined the Maniacs. It's very hard to drive in England. Do you know that in England? I'll tell you why it's very hard to drive in England. Because there's bloody traffic everywhere. Even on these little small B roads. Like this B road in Ireland be empty. You can boot down this road. But over here, jammers. Traffic everywhere. Anyway, let's try this thing in manual now that I figured out there is a manual. There's 6-speed box, yeah, okay, so I've clicked that and there's only 6 gears. So if I click down a gear, yeah, she gives it to me, alright, yeah, and go again. Go again. Oh. Whee! Now it's like driving a little go-kart. No. No. Finally, a road that's not absolutely jam-packed full of traffic. Adlington, right, brake. We're entering a town, we're doing 30 miles an hour. Maniac. So my thinking so far, a few minutes into the car now, it handles well. That engine seems very responsive. The gearbox doesn't seem to be a bit of a problem either. It's going to suit a lot of people. The steering is a nice setup. There's a lovely texture to that steering wheel. Now I am driving a top spec one. This one is top spec in that there's bits that can be added to this to make it more top spec if you want, but it's as high as you're going to buy in the food chain and things at the moment.
Turn right after 400 yards, then you will arrive at your intermediate destination.
Intermediate destination? What the hell's an intermediate destination? That's the destination, something like a waypoint. We'll just call it a waypoint.
2 miles.
£4.49 for breakfast. Is that reasonable? I also noticed another thing in the UK here, guys, that I noticed today. Petrol and diesel down the road is the same price, £1.20 per litre. So not only is it pretty expensive, it's actually the same price, so you make no benefit whatsoever over having a diesel versus petrol. That makes an interesting question, in fairness, because we buy diesels because it's cheap tax and because it's cheaper at the pumps. If it was the same price at the pump, which one would you buy then? I'll tell you what it does feel. It's quite broad. I know it's 4 centimetres wider than 4 centimetres tiny, but it broadens the stance of the front of the car and it gives you that kind of solid feel in here. I see why they're going after the Mini and they're going after the Suzuki, the Seat Ibiza. They're going after the i20, the Kia Rio. Not Picanto, bigger than Picanto. Rio, I think, yeah. They're going after all those cars. Like I say, it is a flooded segment is the problem. Whether Suzuki can shout loud enough in that segment to really be heard and really bring this car to the surface remains a marketing issue rather than, a test drive issue or whatever. It's certainly good enough to compete in the segment. It's got really comfy seats. It's very, very well equipped. Plenty of crash pre-sense safety stuff that's in it as well. You heard that thing go beep, 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 beep thing. Lots of crash system that works in there and prepares you to crash by pulling your seatbelt tighter and making sure nothing's gone wrong. It does a lot of things to make you safer behind the wheel. And they make these size cars, which would have been considered a micro car once upon a time. Now, this is about the size, you're talking about the size of a Ford Focus. My ears are popping. We must be going uphill quite a lot. I haven't noticed. There's a lot of hills around me, but we seem to be climbing out. Even here, I'm in the middle of nothing, and yet I'm meeting traffic. I always appreciate you looking at my reviews. If you could possibly feel the need to dip your hand in your pocket and support the independence of this channel, which I am totally independent. I don't work for a big organisation. I don't work for lots of people getting paid, do full-time jobs. I don't do that. So if you feel you can support this channel in some way, maybe you can do it over on patreon.com or patreon.com/thenextgear and submit what you can there for as little as $2 a month. Tiny money. And I can be totally independent from from car companies and from advertising and from all that sort of stuff. If you can't do that, please, in the very least, just click the subscribe button at the bottom. It's always optional. That's an optional thing, but so at least subscribe to the channel and make sure that you are kept up to date with the latest thing. And until the next time, which will be tomorrow, I will see you on the far side.